Our top focus this morning is on Prime Minister Modi's landmark visit to the United States. Prime Minister's Air India One aircraft touched down at the St. Andrews base in Maryland a few hours ago, and it starts off a power-packed visit for Prime Minister Modi. He is welcomed by senior officials, the Biden administration and India's envoy to US, Narendra Singh Sandhu. The Indian diaspora were also there. They gave a warm welcome to Prime Minister Modi, as you see on your screens there. He briefly also was seen interacting and meeting with the Indian diaspora, thanking them for their support. Now he's got a packed itinerary ahead for the next 3 days. Let's focus on what's expected today. Prime Minister Modi will be holding crucial bilateral talks with US Vice President Kamala Harris. That's at 12:45 a.m. Indian Standard Time. But before that, Prime Minister Modi is also going to be meeting the top 5 CEOs in Washington. This includes the Qualcomm CEO, Cristiano R. Amon. You have the Adobe Chairman, Shantanu Narayan, First Solar CEO, Mark Widmer, General Atomic CEO, Vivek Lal, Blackstone CEO, Stephen Schwarzman. Now, the Prime Minister's one-on-one meeting with the CEOs is expected to begin at 7:35 this evening and is likely to last an hour each. After that, the Prime Minister will hold bilateral talks with Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison. That's going to happen at 11 p.m. tonight.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in the United States of America after 6 months of hiatus. A massive security presence outside his hotel. That's Hotel Willard, which is where he stays normally. This time around also, he's staying at this historic hotel, and there is absolute security presence and barricading of the hotel. If you see on the right and the left-hand side, there are these cement huge block barricades to ensure that no cars really pass through this entire lane, this entire road outside of Hotel Willard. There are trucks that are parked right through the lane that touches the hotel to ensure that no cars are parked and to ensure that security is absolutely 100% foolproof. On the other side as well, you can see security presence, vehicles and barricading. So no entry into or outside of Hotel Willard unless and until they're checked by security personnel. He's not the only high delegation level official or a leader who's arrived at in the United States of America. We have the Prime Minister of Australia and the Prime Minister of Japan both here in the US, and there are going to be bilateral meetings that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold with all his counterparts, including a bilateral meeting with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. There's also an important engagement when it comes to the business community. He's going to meet top business honchos of the country to speak of post-COVID recovery, economic recovery when it comes to India and the United States of America, and how can the two countries move forward. Quad in-person meeting is a very important aspect of his visit, not just to see how to counter China and China's aggressive posturing in the Indo-Pacific, but also to ensure that there's resilient supply chains, and India is key to that entire global supply chain. After which he is going to address the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Video journalist Yogendra Singh in Washington DC, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
Another highlight of the Prime Minister's visit to America is that you're going to be seeing the first ever in-person Quad Summit taking place in the White House. That's on Friday. Ahead of the crucial Quad Summit, Prime Minister Modi will be holding a standalone bilateral meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. You also got a meeting with Australia Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and of course they're all important bilateral with US President Joe Biden. The agenda of the meetings will be to counter China's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Beijing's military presence and political influence in the Indo-Pacific region pose a major threat to India, to Japan as well as to Australia. And Prime Minister Modi's meeting with the Quad leaders is being seen essentially as a move to tackle China's rise and also a commitment to a free and prosperous Indo-Pacific region. The Quad group is an informal strategic dialogue. It's got 4 members: India, Japan, Australia and the United States.
This is where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold bilateral meeting with President Biden, followed by the big Quad meeting, the first in-person meeting of Quad leadership that will take place at the White House. Primarily, the focus is going to be how to ensure that China and Chinese aggression is contained in the entire Indo-Pacific region. There are many areas that will be covered when it comes to alliances, but also the focus will remain counter-terrorism, post-COVID recovery is also supply chain resilience. These are very important aspects, but terrorism and the situation in Afghanistan certainly are going to be key. President Biden has been criticized for having withdrawn troops very hastily from Afghanistan, and the focus now shifting to another theater, that's the Indo-Pacific. But the fact of the matter is that for India, for Australia, for Japan, for many other countries, security situation in Afghanistan is a huge concern. There is the white flag that flutters in every building, atop every building in Afghanistan, but there are certain people over here who still are keeping the tricolor of Afghanistan flying high. That's the Afghan flag. This is a tenement that was that first started as a protest site to protest nuclear war or nuclear arms race. That was in 1978, and it became a permanent structure in 1981. Concerned citizens saying that India, being next door neighbor, should not be influenced by what Pakistan is doing. Speaking of Pakistan, will certainly come up when Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets the leaders of Quad, as also President Biden. Video journalist Yogendra Singh in Washington DC, right outside White House. Geeta Mohan for India Today.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in an important message, called out vaccine racism at the global COVID summit, sending out a strong message against discrimination. Prime Minister Modi asked all countries to honour vaccine certificates. The Prime Minister said that recognising mutual jab certificate is crucial in really easing international travel and boosting crumbling economies. Prime Minister Modi's big message comes at a time when, remember what the United Kingdom has done. They've recognised the Covishield vaccine, but are yet to, in fact, relieve Indian travellers of the 10-day mandatory quarantine because they say, and this is what they said in their statement, that there are certification issues.
We also need to focus on addressing the pandemic economic effects. To that end, international travel should be made easier through mutual recognition of vaccine certificates.
Controversy and the headaches for the Congress in Punjab is never ending. The former Chief Minister, Captain Amarinder Singh, has launched a fresh attack on the Congress High Command. This time, he's targeted even the Gandhis. Captain alleged that Rahul and Priyanka are inexperienced and are ill-advised.
Just days after his unceremonious ouster, Amarinder Singh has come out all guns blazing. The captain minced no words in an outburst against the Congress leadership and Navjot Singh Sidhu. He even went on to the extent of saying he would set up a strong candidate against Sidhu if he was made Chief Minister face for the polls. He warned his party that it would end up with double digits in the 2022 polls if it projected Sidhu. Amarinder didn't stop with just an attack on Sidhu. He made it very clear that he was hurting from being axed as the Chief Minister. The former Chief Minister for the first time included the Gandhis in his fierce attack. He called Rahul and Priyanka Gandhi inexperienced and said they were being misguided by their advisors. And he picked out senior Congress leaders K.C. Venugopal, Randeep Surjewala and Ajay Maken for the criticism. The Congress was completely caught off guard by Amarinder's stinging attack.
I think there was some confusion because our General Secretary said that, it's under the PCC president and leadership that we will fight the election. Then he said again in both of them. I think that is where perhaps because Captain Amarinder Singh and Mr. Sidhu don't seem to be enjoying the best of relationships and they seem to be having fair amount of understanding.
BJP was quick to take political mileage at the growing fissures in the Congress's Punjab state leadership.
कांग्रेस की ये जंग पंजाब को ले डूबेगी. कांग्रेस का पतन तो तय है. क्योंकि ये लड़ाई केवल पंजाब की लड़ाई नहीं है, ये सोनिया गांधी और प्रियंका और राहुल के बीच में जो खींचतान चल रही है, सोनिया ग्रुप और राहुल प्रियंका ग्रुप की, ये उसी की एक झलकी है यहां पर पंजाब में।
The Congress's problems just don't seem to end in Punjab, a state going to elections in a few months. Given that Amarinder still has clout among a section of state Congress leaders, the party's campaign could very well take a hit. With Manjeet Sehgal in Chandigarh, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, as the sordid seer death saga unfolds, here's a report on the names who are in the midst of this entire murky case. The suspect, Narendra Giri, has cried conspiracy. The successor has assured of a detailed probe. And remember, the victim, Mahant Narendra Giri, spoke to us on India Today just a day before his untimely demise.
The seer death saga. Principal players. The victim, Mahant Narendra Giri.
संत महात्मा हम लोग जब घर बार छोड़ के बनते हैं तो देश के लिए बनते हैं, अपने धर्म की रक्षा के लिए बनते हैं। और जो पार्टी कोई भी हो, अगर जो पार्टी हमारे धर्म की रक्षा के लिए और देश की रक्षा के लिए कार्य करती है, उसके साथ संत महात्मा होते हैं। आज अगर और पार्टियां खुल के हमारे सनातन परंपरा का समर्थन करें, राम मंदिर का समर्थन पहले कोई किया नहीं,
अब तो सब कर रहे हैं।
नहीं, अब तो उनकी मजबूरी है, अब तो उनकी दिखावटी मजबूरी, अब तो मजबूरी मान लीजिए उनकी आप। वो जान गए हैं कि जिस तरह से मुस्लिम एक हो रहा है वैसे हिंदू एक हो रहा है, तो उनकी मजबूरी है कि अब वो जानते हैं कि नहीं, मुसलमान को छोड़कर ज़रा हिंदू तरफ जाना पड़ेगा, लेकिन वो सफलता नहीं मिलेगी। इसलिए असली चीज़ क्या है? असली चीज़ जो शुरू से रहा वो असली है, और जो अभी जोड़ा तो नकली माना जाएगा भाई।
The suspect, Narendra Giri.
जी, मैं पूरी तरह से, सबसे पहले पूरी तरह से हर प्रकार की जांच के लिए तैयार हूँ। मुझे किसी भी जांच से भागने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। मेरी अभी एडीजी प्रेम कुमार सर से बात हुई है, उन्होंने कहा है कि आप प्रयागराज आ जाइए, हम यहाँ हमारे मन में उसका हम आपसे उत्तर लेंगे। हमारे गुरुजी ने अपने पूरे जीवन काल में कभी एक पत्र भी नहीं लिखा, वो इतना बड़ा सुसाइड नोट नहीं लिख सकते। हमारे गुरुजी का व्यवहार बेबाक था और बहुत मजबूत था, वो कभी आत्महत्या नहीं कर सकते, उनकी हत्या हुई है। और मैं जब से गुरुजी के साथ हूँ, बचपन से गुरुजी के साथ में हूँ, वो व्यक्ति कभी भी आत्महत्या कर ही नहीं सकते। उनकी हत्या संपत्ति के लालच में की गई है। 1 साल पूर्व ये विवाद आरंभ हुआ, सबसे पहले मुझे उनसे दूर किया गया, उनसे अलग किया गया, आज उनकी हत्या करके मुझे फंसा करके दोनों जड़ों को एक साथ काटने की कोशिश की जा रही है। मैं 1200 किलोमीटर दूर हूँ इलाहाबाद से, आप कल्पना करिए, मेरे से मई के बाद उनसे बात नहीं हुई, उसके पश्चात भी कैसे उन्होंने मेरे दबाव में आत्महत्या कर ली, ये प्रश्न का विषय है, जांच का विषय है।
The successor, बलबीर गिरी.
सरकार स्वयं सुबह योगी आदित्यनाथ जी आए थे, मैंने महाराज जी को स्पष्ट रूप में कहा, महाराज जी ने स्पष्ट रूप से आश्वासन दे रखा है। और जहाँ तक हम उत्तराखंड हरिद्वार में रहते हैं, महाराज जी के काम से बहुत प्रभावित हैं। हमने देखा है महाराज जी को छोटे से बड़े मामलों को सोल्व करते हुए, ठीक है ना। तो हमको विश्वास है उन पर, हमने उन पर छोड़ रखा है।
आनंद गिरी खुद इन्वॉल्व थे इसमें,
तो उनसे हमको कोई लेना देना नहीं।
बाबा जी ने आपसे क्या कहा?
जो सरकार का कार्य है, ये हमारा कार्य नहीं है। हमारा कार्य है कि हमने जो देखा हमने वो उनको दिखा दिया। अब दिखाना आईना उनका कार्य।
योगी जी ने आपसे क्या कहा?
वो जो कार्रवाई हो सकती है वो करेंगे।
कुछ लोग भ्रम फैला रहे हैं, पत्र उन्होंने नहीं लिखा है
ना, तो वो विषय सरकार का है, देखे जांच करे।
आपने राइटिंग, आप साथ में रहते थे, लिखते तो वही थे ना, मतलब लोग
लिखने न लिखने से मतलब नहीं है। जिसको पता है कि ये अक्षर इस तरीके से लिखा गया और पूरा आप देखोगे, आपने देखा है कि नहीं देखा है?
मैंने देखा।
तो आपको नहीं लगा कि वो पूरी तरह से एक जैसा है? क्या अलग दिख रहा है आपको?
बड़े महंत की इमेज खराब करने का प्रयास।
फिर ये तो सनातन पे हमेशा से उठता है।
The All India Management Association has awarded India Today Group's Vice Chairperson Kalipuri for her outstanding contribution to media. This is in its 11th edition of the awards. The awards recognize outstanding leadership in various spheres, including commerce, sports, media, arts, cinema and more.
All India Management Association is pleased to present the AIMA Managing India Award for Outstanding Contribution to Media to Ms. Kalipuri, Vice Chairperson, India Today.
Kalipuri adds another feather to her cap with this prestigious industry recognition for her outstanding contribution to media this year.
This award is very special to me, coming in the time of the endless cycles of lockdown and unlockdown of Corona, which has tested every dimension of my leadership. And because this award is for outstanding contribution in media, I would like to dedicate it to our latest and newest launch, GNT, a Hindi news channel called Good News Today. The focus of this channel will be to spotlight the good and the wonderful in our beautiful country. I am deeply grateful to AIMA to encourage me and my team by giving us this award, which will help us constantly produce the gold standard of journalism.
This was the 11th edition of the coveted awards, and among other winners this year were Adi Godrej, chairman of the Godrej Group, who was given the Lifetime Contribution Award.
You and your families are well.
Sanjeev Goenka, chairman of the RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, who was bestowed with the Business Leader of the Year award. The Emerging Business Leader of the Year 2021 went to Adar Poonawala, Chief Executive Officer of the Serum Institute of India.
I am truly humbled and grateful for this recognition and award.
Zoya Akhtar, film director and writer.
Thank you so much for this award.
Co-founder and CEO of Ola Cabs, were some of the other prestigious awardees this year.
Thank you so much for this award.
We congratulate all the winners of the AIMA Awards 2021.
That is a wrap on this edition of First Up. Thank you for watching. Have a great day and stay tuned to us here on India Today. We'll continue getting you all the latest updates of the Prime Minister's America visit.